It's not your job to try to judge your child or to fix your child, but it is your job to love on them no matter what. Hello, my parents out there. Today I am talking about a very sensitive topic, but it's a real concern across the world and specifically for believers and for Christians. So today we're talking about those who are experiencing their child was born a certain gender, they're born a girl or they're born a boy, but now they're saying or they're curious or saying they identify with the opposite gender. So girls going to boys or boys going to girls. And the challenging part about it is as a believer and your belief system, maybe even if you aren't a believer, but I am specifically speaking to believers, you don't agree with that. So how do you navigate that? How do you go through this process, this journey with your child because you don't believe that God made a mistake in how your child was born. You don't believe that God made a mistake in how your child was created, but there is something in your child's belief system that is very real to them that they don't agree or they are kind of teeter-tottering with the thought or tapping into the other gender. Now, this can look very different based on different situations. You may be in a situation where it's your child, whether they are elementary, middle school, high school age, or they could be young adults or even older. Your child may be taking different hormones because they're trying to do different things to get their desired result. They may say that it's not for transgender purposes, but they're tapping into some other things to alter the way that they look, or they want more feminine or more masculine appeal when people see them. You may have with some children, you may be experiencing, they're trying to go by different pronouns. So with their peers or at school or in different places or at their jobs, they are being identified as their opposite pronouns. So if they're born he or him, they're now going by she or her and vice versa. Now, this experience also may be different from you because, say, for example, your child may consider themselves gender fluid, which means their identity changes and shifts rather than remains the same. Okay, there's a lot of terminology that I will kind of get on as we're going through this episode today. So you may have gender fluid children, or you may have students who identify, I said students, the teacher, sorry. Or you may have children who identify as being agender, which means they don't not see themselves as a man or a woman. And there's a lot more definitions and expressions of how people are identifying with their gender, gender, transgender, is a different one. Fluid, excuse me if I say that incorrectly. But please, you can find more information if you want it. But I want to talk about it because I understand that there are some parents who are having some concerns because their children are identifying with these different genders and you just kind of don't know what else to do at this point. You don't agree. You want to be there. How do you navigate them? How does this work? Now, I cannot say I have personally experienced this as of right now in my life with my personal children, but I am taking a stance from being that safe person for those children, whether they're younger or older or young adults who have identified with any aspect of the LGBTQIA community, as far as me being a safe person for them. So I get to hear this standpoint of that child, again, no matter what age, but I also sometimes get to hear the standpoint of those parents who are also going through this journey together. So that is my stance and my approach and why I'm sharing some information on it, because I hear what the kids say. I hear what those youth say when they are going through this season. For some of them it's season, for some of them it's very permanent, but they're going through this, let's just say season as far as awareness or questioning their identity. Okay. So how do you navigate this? All right. Because there may be possible discord in your family, in your household about this. You may be the parent that may be a little bit more open to having a conversation about it, where your spouse or other family members are totally like, no, 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 or they're against it, or it's causing confusion, right? There's tension in your relationship between you and your child. Guys, it feels like it's not the same ever since you found this. It could have been a secret out about your child. It feels like it's not the same anymore, right? Like you don't really know how to talk to them. You don't know which way to go. You can't sleep at night because you're worried about your child, you're worried about their soul, you're worried about the challenges they will face in this world, because there are parts of our world who is accepting of the LGBTQI community, and there are parts of our world that are not at all, whether it's based off of religion or not. But I want to give some things to focus on as you go through this journey as a Christian parent. Okay, because it's going to look very different for different people. But I do want to stay on the biblical standpoint as far as some practical strategies of how you can navigate this with your child. Now, first and foremost, regardless of your beliefs, okay, you do not have to agree with your child, but what I do want you to first and foremost do is have open and honest communication with your child about this, no matter how old they are. This could be tricky, especially if you found out on a secret. Say you were doing a random phone check with one of your child and then you found out or you heard different things, or you're not supposed to know, but now you know. Your child didn't just come right to you and share their concerns. But what I really want you to be mindful of is be able to have that open communication with your child. When you are talking to them, this is not the time to just tell them they're wrong or condemn them to hell or hit them with all the different scriptures, that talk about different sins and the lifestyle associated with that, or of being transgender or the thought of it, but have open and honest communication. Having open and honest communication does not mean that you have to agree, but take some time to see why your child feels the way that they do. It's okay to hear them out. It's okay to talk to them. It's okay to say, hey, so how long have you been feeling this way? What makes you feel this way? What are some things that make you question your identity? Okay. Do you have other peers? Where there was, you could say, a disconnect. Where is this coming from? But have that open dialogue. You want to be able to create that safe space. And again, that does not mean you agree with them. I'm not saying you just have to be okay with it and accept it. But as a parent, I would hope you are even open to hear from them. Now, this also can be tricky because your youth may not feel comfortable talking to you about it, because they may know how you feel about that type of lifestyle, or people who are transgender or identify with anything in the LGBTQIA community. They may hear your sidebar conversations, times when you think that they're not listening, but they've heard it. So they've come up with their own perception in their mind that either my parent isn't going to accept me anymore, my parent's not going to love me, they're going to kick me out, they're going to cut me off. There's already this different level of fear or confusion that could be going on inside your child's mind. And that's why they have not opened up to you. So have open and honest communication. Don't force the conversation. Okay. You sitting there talking to your child for hours upon hours is not going to change their mind, and it's not going to make them open up. Okay. But be open-minded to have that conversation, to plant that seed and say, hey, I really do want to talk to you about this when you're ready. No judgment. I want to hear your side. Hearing their side, again, does not mean you agree, but you should want to hear their belief system, because the reality is sometimes your child's belief system is not the same as yours. Even you could be raising them with Christian values. You may kind of raise them with Christian values, and you may not raise them with Christian values. Like, what they see from you could be inconsistent in that lane. So they may have a different model of life. They may have a different worldview. This is the time where you need to be talking to them about it if you have not already. Okay. Open and honest communication. That is first and foremost as you're navigating through this journey, and understanding it's going to be a process. All right. Second, focus on love. That really could be my first and only point. Focus on love. Now that is biblical. That is what Christ tells us that we are to do as believers, because love is what draws people. I know it may be easier said than done for you because of your belief system when it comes to this, but love your child no matter what, because guess what? They're still your child. Yeah, you don't agree with them. Yeah, you're worried about what's going to happen to them, but love on them. This is the time where you have to show Jesus. This is the time where you are supposed to show what it means as a believer. As believers, we aren't to judge. We aren't to condemn. You can't put nobody in heaven or hell because of what you're looking at from the outside of people, because God looks at people's hearts as well. We're not God. So you got to be very careful that you don't fall in that lane where now you're judging them and you're telling them this, you're telling them that. You don't know your child's story. You don't know your child's testimony. You don't know what they're going to go through, but you can love on them. You can still be there for them. You can say, baby, I don't agree, but I'm here for you. I'm still going to love on you. Hey, we may not talk about certain things. You can set those healthy boundaries in your conversations. Like, hey, I may not call you by your other pronouns. Okay. But I'm here. I'm loving on you. Love on your children. That is what they need more than anything, is the love. Now, again, I have people who ask me, because of my beliefs, as a believer, I am the safe person for many youth who identify with either transgender or, again, like I said, LGBTQIA community. And I love on them. You sure can come talk to me. There's not going to be no judgment. There's not going to be no condemnation. There's not going to be any of that, because I see it from another standpoint. This is still a person. And a lot of times when I'm sitting there with youth or young adults, again, I've spoken to people of all different ages. I see sometimes the struggle that they go through, the torment that they go through mentally, the confusion. When you look at the data and the research from our students who identify with youth with LGBTQIA and those who are not, they're the ones more likely to have suicidal rates. They're the ones more likely to have maladaptive coping strategies, which means unhealthy coping strategies where they're cutting or they're using drugs or they're using alcohols or they're running away from home. These are they're people. That's what I see when I see them. So I can have a full-blown conversation. I'm not putting them in heaven or hell, but I'm able to talk it through to them. Ask them questions to make them think for themselves. Hey, what's your thought process here? Okay, cool. How does it align with everything else you're trying to do in your life? Okay? So be mindful. And I know it's hard not to just think about yourself in that moment, but also think about your child and what they're going through. The internal dialogue that they're having, where they have some peers saying, hey, go this way. And some other peers saying, no, don't go this way. So from their parent, you should be the most, of course, you're going to be consistent in your stance as far as if you don't agree. You can share why you don't agree, but do not forget the part or the aspect of them as people who need love. And they want acceptance in some kind of way. But find that balance. But focus on loving your child. When nothing else, when you can't figure out anything else, you don't know what else to do, focus on loving your child, because that is definitely what matters. Okay? Third thing that you can do, seek support. Because this could be very challenging, especially if you have a youth who their mind is made up. Your child mind is made up. They are about to they're already on hormones. They're old enough where they can make the decision where they want to have different surgeries, or even if they're younger, they're like, hey, I want to wear the binder. I want to do all these different things. Their mind is made up. This could be very hard and very challenging for you, because it's almost like you're grieving the child that you thought you knew, right? That's not easy. It's not easy at all. This is a big step or big decision that your child makes that affects so many people, but you've got to get some support. So look into counseling for yourself, right? How do you navigate this? You can get a Christian counselor as well. How do you navigate this? Because no matter what you say, no matter how many long talks you have with your child, no matter if you just feel deep in your heart, they just going to hell or whatever the case it is, or where you believe they are in their life, you can't control them. They have free will. The same way you have free will. They have free will. So go to counseling get support for yourself, or seek the parent support groups. There are support groups out there that you can find in different communities where you can have other people to talk to. Okay? So those are some things that you can put in place for yourself. And most importantly, cover your child with prayer. This is that part as parents where we have to let go. Right? Because we can't control, but our faith is in God. Our faith is in that the Holy Spirit will do whatever he needs to do within your child's life to get them to the realization to know that their identity is based in Christ. That is the place where you want them to be, that they find their identity. They align their identity. Their foundation of who they are is based on what God said who they are. And you may not be the one who gets them to that revelation. It's a harsh reality. You may not be the one, but are you bold enough or confident enough to pray to God to say, God, hey, cover my baby in this way. Allow them to know who you are. If you have your own personal regrets, maybe you think maybe I shouldn't expose them to this. Maybe I should have listened to them when they told me certain things was happening or going on to them when they were younger, things you blew off. You might have some of that guilt. Okay, that's fine. Pray about that. Give it over to God. You thought you could have did something differently. Maybe you should have had them going to church. Maybe you should have had them around different people. It's all these shoulda, coulda, wouldas that could possibly be going through your mind. But at the end of the day, now you're knowledgeable of what's going on. Now you're knowing some different things that your child is facing. So now what you can do, what you have complete control over, is going on your knees before the Lord and praying for your child. Praying that they come to the knowledge of who they are in God. I know we hear many times when we talk about this topic, there's no sin greater than the others. I know there are verses that talk about abominations and sins and things of that nature. Like, I get all of that. But at this part, you've got to find a way where you can only control yourself. Okay? There are different conversations that as parents that we have to have with our kids now that our parents may not have had with us. When did you ever speak to your child about their identity? When did you ever have those heart-to-heart conversations to talk to them and say, hey, do you know why God created you this way? Hey, do you have any questions? Was that dialogue ever open? And honestly, most people, the answer is no, because you're not even thinking you have to, because nobody had to do that with you. You were comfortable or confident in who you are. But there are people who are not comfortable and confident in who they are. There are people who truly believe in their hearts and their minds that the gender that they were assigned at birth is incorrect. These are thoughts that play into their mind, things that they feel like are within their being. But even as we understand when we're born, we're shaped in iniquity, right? I'm not going into a Bible study, but there's a part as well that we don't always have to respond to what our flesh desires. But that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But pray that over your child. Pray that God gets your child to that place. But in the meantime, just be there. Love on them. You may not talk about certain topics with them because it just is too much for you, and I definitely understand it, but they should feel the love of Jesus coming from you if you are a Christian. Not condemnation, not judgment, not conviction, because that's not how the Holy Spirit does with us. Well, he will convict us, but allow him to do it because he knows how to do it better than you do. But it's not our job to judge. This is not the end of your child's story. So have those declarations, walk in that faith that God, hey, help me as a parent to know how to be there for my child. How can I show my child love the way that you've shown to me when I've done things that you didn't want me to do? When I didn't follow all of your commandments the way that you desired or outlined for us. God, give me the grace you give to me, give it to my child and help me be an extender of that grace to my child. So when your child sees you, they see Jesus. So what is that going to look like? That is your takeaway as you're going and navigating through this journey. Can your child see Jesus when they talk to you? All right. Now, I know this is a very tough topic. It can be, it's a lot of emotions. It's a lot of thoughts. It's a lot of things that are going on through your mind, but take it day by day, one step at a time. Do not feel pressured to have all the answers or to fully understand everything right now because you're not. You're not. But this motherhood, this parenthood is a journey. As daughters of God, it's a journey. Going through all these things, it's a journey. But you can't control your peace while you're going through this journey. All right? So pray, have open and honest communication with your child, focus on loving them, and seek the support that you need to help you get through this time. And until next time, I want you to continue to pursue her, being heroic, empowered, and resilient as a mother. Take care.